Hey guys, I'm Elisa. Welcome to my channel. I am the owner of a micro bakery called Sift and Sprinkle in Des Moines, and I am here to show you guys some fun recipes. They're fun, they're easy, they're accessible. They're just everyday recipes. So what we're gonna do today is a chocolate chip cookie recipe that doubles as a fruity cereal recipe. So 2 cookies for the price of 1. We're gonna get started. We're going to start with a cup of butter, 3/4 cups, settle down, 3/4 cups of brown sugar, 3/4 cups of plain white sugar. All in this mixer, paddle, attachment. Let's get moving. There's 1, there's 2. Alton Brown always says like mise en place, everything in your place. I always say, just throw it. Just leave it there. Put it down, don't put it away. That's why my kitchen's such a mess.
It's a real kitchen.
It's a real kitchen, y'all. This is the kitchen that I cook pancakes in for my kids. So we have a cup of unsalted butter. Did I say that? Unsalted butter. That's kind of your typical baking butter. So I'm going to add, yum, 3/4 cups of white sugar, 3/4 cup of packed brown sugar. You guys know what packed brown sugar means. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, but don't let it be all loose in there. Pack it. That was 3/4 cup of each of those. Now we're going to cream this butter and sugar together until it's light and fluffy. What does light and fluffy mean? Hold on. Just hold on. I will show you. Okay. Is this light and fluffy? No. I feel like I'm being mean. I'm sorry, guys. Let's start over with this recipe, guys. Hey, it's such a sunshiny day. Sunshiny day. We're making chocolate chip and fruity cereal cookies. It's getting lighter. This is so exciting. All right, friends, it's pretty light and fluffy. You can see how much lighter it got than it was. I like the way that it looks. I'm gonna scrape down the sides, make sure all of the butter is incorporated. Get it off of this paddle. And next we're going to add in 1 egg and 1 egg yolk. The egg yolk is just, it's my little secret to really chewy cookies. And it's something that I put in all of my cookies, just 1 extra yolk. And don't tell anybody because it's a big secret. So, 1 egg yolk. We're gonna turn it on, throw it in there. Oop. So those are mixed in pretty well. No really big chunks of egg in there still. You know, that like snot egg white. Delicious. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of vanilla. Like I have said before, we measure vanilla with our hearts. Here's my homemade vanilla. If you would like me to make this vanilla and tell you how to make it, let me know. So we have 1 teaspoon, 2 teaspoons. And this is a little bit of a secret, guys. I like a bourbon vanilla. So if that gives you an idea of how I make my vanilla, it's a bourbon vanilla. All right, let's mix that in. Doesn't need a ton of time, just wants to get mixed in. So now we're gonna move on to the dry ingredients. All the wet ingredients are here. I'm gonna throw in all of the dry ingredients. So we have 2 3/4 cups of flour. We have a teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon, of salt.
And these are not measured in love. These are exact measurements.
These are not measured in love. These are exact measurements. And a lot of the time when I'm making recipes, I like to work in grams, but this is such an OG recipe. This is a recipe that I created based off of my dad's favorite snickerdoodle cookie. So it's like seriously OG. I've been eating my dad's favorite snickerdoodle since I was little. And I just kind of tweaked it a little bit because I saw that it was really similar to a lot of chocolate chip cookies. And I was like, well, I can just make my snickerdoodle cookie into a chocolate chip cookie. And it worked. So these are in cups. One of the few recipes you will find of mine. One of the few recipes you will find of mine that is in cups. 2 and 3/4. If you're watching this food video, you probably know this, but you don't want it to hump over here. You want to scrape it off so we're nice and flat. See that fulcrum? Nice and flat. What are we at? 2 1/2. We need about a 1/4 cup. I'm cheating. You know why? Because I can't find any 3/4 cups. They're all gone. I have like 5 different sets of measuring cups and all of the 3/4 cups are gone. Okay, so flour's done. Let's put a little salt, half a teaspoon of salt. You have to add the salt. If you're like, I don't know if I want the salt, you have to add the salt. Salt brings out the flavors of everything else in this recipe. And if you've ever had like a chocolate chip cookie that just kind of falls flat, just kind of like stays on your tongue in like a Crisco, in like a vegetable oil kind of way, like that is because that salt is not bringing out the flavor of the butter. You have to have that salt. So we have a teaspoon. Which of these is a teaspoon? This is a teaspoon. Again, scrape it off so it's nice and flat. Teaspoon. We're gonna mix all of this. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna start this mixer and flour's gonna go all over the place. That is just how we live in this house, because this is a real house with real things and real things happen. So I go one, just a little bit at a time. A little bit at a time. This is a professional pastry chef method.
This is the definition of scooch.
Now, speaking of a professional pastry chef, that I am not. I am a professional by trade. However, by education, I am not. My degree is in sport management. It has nothing to do with this. I lost my job in sports and events during COVID. I just started baking. My friends said, well, can we buy them? And I just worked out a price with them on the fly during COVID when everybody was at home and I was laid off, collecting unemployment, and I just started my business out of that. So it's kind of wild and crazy. It's been a couple awesome years, and now I'm sharing all of my recipes with you guys. So consider yourself part of my journey. All right, we don't want to mix that too much. The flour, we don't want it to get all cakey, gross, icky, sticky, glutinous, glutinous, glucerous, glutinous Maximus. Oh, did you guys see that? Okay, so we have kind of the basic cookie dough. But what's it missing? Elisa, it's missing chocolate chips. We'll get to that. So I'm gonna put some to the side. I'm gonna put some in this bowl that we're eventually going to make chocolate chip cookies. And we're going to work on the recipe that won me a blue ribbon at the Iowa State Fair. Shout out to Thelma's. If you guys have ever had Thelma's cookies or their ice cream sandwiches, they had a contest at the Iowa State Fair, and I entered with my fruity cereal cookies and it won first place. So that was really cool. I got a ton of those ice cream sandwiches. My favorite is sugar cookies with strawberry ice cream. So good. Okay, so I've cut this in half, but if you're making this recipe, the full recipe, you now want to add 3/4 cups. Why are all of my recipes 3/4 cups? I'm just now realizing I don't have any 3/4 cups. 3/4 cups fruity rice cereal.
You should just double it so it's a cup and a half.
And just make a lot.
Just make a lot.
And 3/4 cups of white chocolate chips. So I'm gonna start by adding the white chocolate chips because you can get a little rough with these white chocolate chips. It just means that like when I'm mixing it, they're not gonna break apart. If you put this fruity rice cereal in and mixed it up for like longer than 4 seconds, it would be obliterated. So I'm gonna add these white chocolate chips. Okay, so they are evenly distributed. Now I'm gonna add some of this rice cereal, fruity rice cereal. I love the smell of it. The smell is so nostalgic to me. It's one of those things that just has a very like distinct smell. So I'm gonna give it again a couple of those little that we did before. That's enough. That's enough. And we're going to work this dough a little bit by hand just to kind of fold it up a little bit. But this is the dough. This is it. We're done. So I like to bake it, and this is wild. Don't ask me why, but at 340. Have you ever seen a recipe that's at 340? I have not, but it makes a difference. So I cook these at 340, and it depends. So if I'm doing a smaller cookie, like I'll do this really small cookie scoop, and it'll be 6 minutes. But if I do like a super big scoop like this, which I love doing this, I love doing giant cookies. A cookie scoop like this is gonna take longer. It's gonna take 10, maybe 12 minutes. So we'll scoop out a couple of these. Make sure to get all of that down at the bottom. Just make sure to get, because the fruity cereal wants to settle down at the bottom. So mix it in a little bit. We're gonna pull in, I'm gonna move some of this stuff to the side here so we can move in our sheet. All right, we got our sheet. We got our sheet covered in parchment paper, mostly because I just don't like to clean my baking sheets. All right, I'm gonna use this little cookie scoop. I like the little one. I like to scoop them all out, put them in the freezer. I've talked about before my dessert trays that I make. So it's like a charcuterie board, but it's all desserts that I make kind of all piled up. And these very like little cookies like this, or even half this size, are perfect for those because you want to have little bite-sized things. So we're just gonna scoop all of these out onto here. You guys know how to scoop out a cookie, right? If you don't, maybe I should do a couple more rudimentary recipes. If you do, I'm right in the right place. All right, Fruity Pebble Cookies, delicious. But I wanna get back to this dough. You know what is actually an underrated cookie is chocolate chip cookies without chocolate chips. I'm gonna do some of those. I like chocolate chip cookies. I'm not a huge chocolate person, which is a little bit wild. My husband loves chocolate, everything chocolate. But I always try and go for that chocolate chip cookie that has like 1 or 2 chips in it. That's all I need, 1 or 2. So I'm gonna make a couple of these just for me that don't have anything in them. Chocolate chip cookies without the chocolate chips. Just created that. But for those who love chocolate chips, I'm gonna add chocolate chips. Now I like to add milk chocolate because that's my preference. I like to add milk chocolate because that's my preference. You can add dark chocolate, you can add whatever chocolate, semi-sweet chocolate, bittersweet chocolate, do what you want. Stop asking me these questions. So I'm gonna add, if you were doing a full recipe, you would add 3/4 cups of chocolate chip cookies. 3/4 cups. I hear it in my sleep. 3/4 cups. Chocolate chip cookies. Chocolate chips. Just the chocolate chips. Don't add chocolate chip cookies.
That's too bad.
Just add. What if we made chocolate chip cookies and put those little cereal chocolate
Cookie
chips?
Crisp.
Cookie Crisp. What if we made chocolate chip cookies with Cookie Crisp? Don't anybody take that idea. Okay, I'm just gonna fold some of these in. They have a mind of their own. I'm just gonna fold them in because I really like the look of chocolate chip cookies when there's a couple chocolate chips on the outside too. So I'm not all that worried about them being like completely covered in dough. Okay, still this little tiny cookie cutter. Did I already tell you guys these go in the freezer? Man, I'm passionate about the freezer. Because really you can make these on a weekend, bake up a dozen of them, because let's be honest, and put the rest of them in the freezer, and then the next day you can bake a dozen of them. And then the next day, another dozen. Or just one. I've put them in the air fryer before. Yum. Okay, I'm gonna fill the rest of these. I'm gonna bake them at 340 for 6 minutes, and then I'm gonna look at them. If they're not done, I'm gonna cook them a little longer. If they're overdone, I'm gonna cry. So. All right, so our cookies are done. They're cooled. I underbaked them a little because that's how I like them. I think I did about 7.5 minutes we ended up at. So we have our fruity cereal cookies. They look so festive. They almost look like a funfetti cake. And they're filled with those white chocolate morsels. Really good. So I love kind of the way that white chocolate, when it touches your tongue, is a little cold. I love that about white chocolate. So those are great. Chocolate chip cookies without the chocolate chips. I mean, they're good. This is what I want. I know not a lot of people want this, but this is what I want.
What separates it from like just a sugar?
So a sugar cookie, if we were just doing a drop sugar cookie, it wouldn't have that brown sugar in it, but because we put the brown sugar in it, then it makes kind of this like caramely type, just a chocolate chip cookie sort of taste. So that brown sugar adds almost a little nuttiness. All right, this chocolate chip cookie, so good. You can still see it's a little bit shiny, which means these chocolate chips, they're still gooey. Can we get that chocolate pull? Oh yeah, that's where it's at. All right, that's good. You know what the trick is to a good chocolate chip cookie, if you're not a huge chocolate fan, is finding that chocolate that you love. I love Ghirardelli milk chocolate. So I'm gonna spend a little extra money on that nice milk chocolate and make a really good chocolate chip cookie.
Ghirardelli or Ghirardelli?
But it was Ghirardelli.
Ghirardelli. Ghirardelli. Ghirardelli.
I'm just not gonna mention them.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep. Right out of the oven, you can't go wrong with this. So I'm gonna eat the rest of these. Thank you guys for watching. I mean, if you need another recipe, come back or don't. I don't really care. Like and subscribe.
Gotta play with it a little, yeah?
That's what she said.
Hey-o.